Paul on hold.
Roger that. Okay, looks like we got a good live stream going here. We're good to rock and roll. Yeah, let me know when we have 2 minutes.
All right.
And I will hear sound in my ears. You will not.
Okay.
So during that 2 minutes, I'm not going to be able to hear you.
Okay.
And I don't know if my viewers will be able to hear it or not. So
Just testing.
I'm testing right now.
All right.
All right. See you in a minute.
All right.
Let me know when we have 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, we're about 50 seconds away.
Well, time is moving quick already, bud.
I'm saying.
Oh, this is going to be a fast show.
Zip right on by.
I'm out of Defender coffee, for God's sakes. I'm having to use this Maxwell House stuff until my Defender gets here, and it won't be here till tomorrow. I got to up my bag count.
Oops. Ten-second warning. Five to 2. 2 minutes.
What do you got on time, Greg?
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the Gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, Gunbroker.com studios with you here on the Car Arms Platinum microphone, filling your prescription for freedom across the country today on dozens of radio stations, regardless of what time you're listening to us, or if you're watching us on the live stream on YouTube. We are going to test YouTube's new policy today when it comes to talking about the fraudulent election and the massive amount of voter fraud that we're seeing across the country today. YouTube is threatening to cut that off today, and they're going to get very aggressive with it, as I guess their commie masters teach them how to censor. And we are live on YouTube today. If you're watching us, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to pull it down. I have no idea, but we are going to talk about it. Nothing will silence us ever when we're talking about the truth in America, and nobody will censor us, period. We will continue to tell you the truth, regardless of what the commie meisters out there want you to know. And believe me, this is a taste of how bad it's going to get across the country. I can promise you that it's going to get worse. I got a great program lined up for you today. We're going to jump right in. Mr. Paul Markel, student of the gun, joins me. Paul, how the heck are you?
Busier than a one-legged butt kicker.
A one-legged butt kicker. That's like a what's the one-arm paper hanger with no legs or something like that, right?
Paper hanger. Yeah.
Hey,
busier than one-arm paper hanger.
Let me get some business out of the way here because, as I mentioned, this is the Crossbreed Holsters. It's the gunbroker.com studios. Crossbreed Holsters is Sunday. It's the gunbroker.com studios. We're on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. Two companies I know you know pretty well. And Paul, all of this is being presented to us today by X Insurance. I just got a huge banner from them, FedEx, in anticipation of being at SHOT this year, and I'm bummed because we were gonna have a huge show. So you know what I did? I set up my X Insurance banner and the Gunbroker, the Car Arms, the Crossbreed, the Lead Slingers. I got them all set up in my garage, and it looks awesome. And I just I'm so bummed that we're not going to be able to get together, and I'm not going to pass you in your kilt walking by the Armed American Radio booth and sitting and joining me. You know, I'm as it gets closer, as much as I hate traveling to Vegas, I'm going to miss it, man. I really truly am. How about you?
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's one of those necessary evils kind of thing. It's I'm sick up to my gills of the chicanery that goes on in Las Vegas, but at the same time, it is the one chance out of the year. You know, that and NRA show. Right. Was the one chance that we all get to be in the same place at the same time. And the one thing that my friend Pete Brownell mentioned, which is actually worth noting, is that most of the industry, that it's not only where they introduce new stuff,
mm-hmm.
but it's also an opportunity for them to get together and kind of mind meld.
Yeah.
You know, very, very few companies will come up with a product all on their own by themselves, not telling anybody in super secret. You know, when it comes to like, for instance, if a company's coming up with a brand new handgun, new frame size, new slide dimensions, and so forth, what they'll do before they announce that is they'll go around to all the holster makers. So they'll go to Crossbreed and say, hey,
well, sure,
we're going to launch this at SHOT. We need a holster for it.
Hey,
blah,
Paul,
blah,
stop
blah.
giving secrets away. Listen to me. This is hold on a second here. Hold on a second, listeners. Sometimes you'll hear me say because I know a guy, or something like that, or sometimes you'll hear me say I know too much. Sometimes, you know, I'll get off the phone and this is no joke. No, this is nothing that you don't already know. But I'll get a phone call from Mr. Gottlieb at midnight. He's on the West Coast. He's in Pacific time, and when something major is getting ready to go down, I'm on the board, and in many cases we'll get a phone call late. And I hang up the phone and I think to myself, I shouldn't know that stuff. But you're correct, and that's exactly what happens. What Paul is telling you is correct, but Paul, you don't have to tell everybody that. It's a secret. No, I'm just kidding. It's so true, though. They go to the holster makers and they get information. So, of course.
Yeah, that collaboration between manufacturers is, and you're like, well, they can still Skype and they can still Zoom and they can still YouTube and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you put people in a room together, that's when stuff happens.
Yeah. That's
when the best stuff happens. And that is kind of that's the downside that we're not going to see this year.
Yeah.
Is that. And then, of course, a lot of companies have decided to just hold back on releasing new products anyway.
Right.
So a lot of stuff that they were going to release at SHOT, they're like, we're 9 months back ordered now on the old stuff. So there's no point in releasing something new when we can't even fulfill, the old orders.
Well,
so
look, let's get real. The best meetings at SHOT occur over drinks in the bourbon room, the old bourbon room, for example. When and it's true, or somewhere sitting around the casino, or in one of the restaurants in between the Venetian and the Palazzo, and there are many great restaurants between the Venetian and the Palazzo where the Sands is. And those meetings occur, and it is that camaraderie. There's an old saying that goes, it's been for years, the National Rifle Association annual meeting you go to, because that's where you meet everybody. It's open to members and non-members alike that can get in if they want to pay a little bit more money, but it's where you meet your readers, it's where you meet your viewers, it's where you meet your listeners. NASGW show, National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers. I'm a member of NASGW. Very, very, very productive meetings there last October down in Orlando. Wonderful. And much less hassle than the rest of them because you can walk around. It's a much more sedate show, not near as many people in a much smaller venue. But that's where most people go to do their buying after they see everything it's shot. And you go to SHOT because you have
absolutely.
to. You go to SHOT because you have
Yeah.
to, because it's SHOT. It's as simple as that. It's going to be missed this year. And X Insurance and we were just looking at having a huge, huge, huge Radio Row booth up on a stage. The banners everywhere. The banners showed up, and I'll put it up on my my Facebook page, Armed American Radio. Please like me over on Facebook. And those of you watching on YouTube right now, we appreciate that very much as we're just getting the YouTube channel started. If you're watching the show, you saw some great graphic intros that we have out now. You can check them out on Twitter at AARMark and also Parler at AARMark Walters. We're moving over there more and more every single day. And, boy, I'll tell you what. Oh, Twitter at AARMark. You got to be on Twitter, at least for now anyway, that hideous, despicable, hateful place. Paul, let's start off the day today with something that's probably going to carry us through, could very easily carry us through the hour. So I'll kind of tease it right now. Biden aide promises big, bold executive action on guns. Cam Edwards, my good friend and your friend, Alan was on the program with him earlier today, I believe, or was it yesterday? And we're going to be talking with Alan about this on Sunday. But let's just cover this, Paul. At the moment, according to Cam Edwards, the prospect of Joe Biden's sweeping gun and magazine ban getting through a divided Congress appear to be dim. But notice he says at the moment. So let's break that down before the break. At the moment. What does he mean by at the moment it appears to be dim? Having not read that or anything, Paul, how would you read into that? How would you comment on that? At the moment it appears to be dim. What do you think he means?
One can only imagine, but we're back to playing this asking for permission game.
Yeah, what's what we're going to talk about for the hour.
We're back to the asking for permission game, and that is where we, as a whole, as a Second Amendment or constitutional or conservative or whatever, that's where we screw up, and that's where we've been screwing up because we keep assuming that we need permission from our masters to exercise our constitutional rights. We're behaving as if the government gives us liberty, and that when they decide to take our liberty away, that at any point in time they have the authority to do that. That in and of itself, that's the basis of a lot of these comments and concerns and editorials and op-eds is like, well, this is going to happen. Well, because why? Well, because liberty comes from government, and when government decides to restrict it, then you have no choice. Is that really how this country was founded?
No, it's not how the country was founded. And if in fact Biden gets into office, if he is inaugurated at a virtual event because he couldn't bring 20 people to a drive-in event, because he wasn't campaigning, because he already knew he was going to win, or it looks that way. The level of fraud that we're seeing.
That way, it is.
Well, sure, the level of fraud that we're seeing.
Manufacturing ballots.
Well, of course they are, and we've got them busted in the state of Atlanta. And you ask the woman on the video, and she's now lawyered up. With all due respect, when you lawyer up, it doesn't look good in a situation like this. And apparently, we've got 2 or 3 people in Georgia that are lawyered up. We've got a Governor Kemp here who is, for whatever reason, spineless and hopefully under pressure decides to call a special session of the Georgia Congress, of the Georgia State House. I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm here. We don't ever know whatever Kemp is doing. He is kind of, maybe every once in a while he tweets something out. That's not how you work, Governor. Get off your Twitter feed and get out and talk to the people who put you in office. That may very well not do it again. Your polls are in the toilet. We'll be back with Paul Markel, student of the gun, right after this. Let me know when we have 30 seconds, would you?
All right.
Thanks. Greg, what time are you showing? Physical time.
4/19/27/28.
YouTube viewers, can you hear the audio on those graphics that we were seeing today? Just type yes or no if you. Greg, what time are you showing? Physical time. Why did I
30.
get you back?
4/19/27/28.
Why am I getting that back on you, Greg?
I don't know.
YouTube
What are you getting?
viewers, can you hear the audio on those graphics that we were seeing today? Just type yes or no if you. Greg, what time are you showing? Physical
How about now?
Why did I
30.
Yeah, I'm still hearing myself.
4/19/27.
I'm hearing you come back at 4:19/27. Why am I hearing that?
I don't know. We're 30 out.
Hold on. I know why.
What are you getting?
Viewers, I got it. Shit. You still with me?
I am.
Okay. We're good. This upcoming segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by GunBroker.com, the world's largest online marketplace to buy and sell firearms, ammo, and related accessories. That's GunBroker.com. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show indeed. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense in the GunBroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. All of this being presented to you today across the country by X Insurance, a far superior product than the third-party membership plans and all the gimmicks and all the cool, range bags and all the training bag, all that cool stuff. This is insurance. That's what you want for. You want insurance. If you're carrying a firearm, if you're a law enforcement officer, if you're a civilian, you're a business owner, you want insurance. Real insurance written for you in your name that covers you should you need it. Armed American Radio being sponsored by and presented to you across the country by X Insurance. Make sure to check them out, xinsurance.com. Paul Markel, student of the gun. Let's go back to the Biden promise, okay? Let's get a little bit farther than just the one sentence in the article because it's a good one. Welcome back, Paul.
Hey.
At the moment, the prospects of Joe Biden's sweeping gun and magazine ban getting through a divided Congress appear to be dim. But a top transition official is telling his supporters that the Democrat will move quickly to enact, quote, making big, bold changes through executive action if he's inaugurated in January. Now, I read into that dim because right now the Senate, they're not confident the Senate is going to fold. So I don't mind hearing that because that maybe they've got internal polling. Maybe that's why. I'm reading that as a good sign. But here's what it says. The Washington Examiner reports Paul Bedard that Steph Feldman, the national policy director of Biden's presidential campaign, brought up the issue of executive action on guns during an online briefing with Georgetown University's Institute of Politics and Public Service. Here's what they said. It is expected that Biden will use executive orders, especially if the Democrats don't win both Georgia special Senate elections. Even with those, however, it would be a split chamber, making it difficult for him to push through liberal elements of his agenda, including gun control. The mention of guns in his initial executive actions is already sparking concern in the industry, which is readying an aggressive lobbying campaign. I'm going to be pretty busy, said one top gun lobbyist. What actions could Biden take? And this is where Cam spoke with Mr. Gottlieb. And he says, as we discussed with Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation on Tuesday's Bearing Arms, Cam and Company, a ban on the importation of semi-automatic rifles is one of the first moves that Biden could make. So let's start with that. A ban on the importation. Now, I've been telling you, listeners and viewers, that this was right on his website. I read it to you right off of Biden's website. That was the second step he was going to take. Well, the first step was to ban importation. The second step was to seek legislation banning domestic and banning AR-15s, importation and manufacture in the United States. Paul, let's talk about that. Are you shocked by any of that?
Brother man, brother man, brother man, brother man, brother man.
We're going to go there,
All
so
right,
just go ahead and let it
up.
rip.
Listen up, listeners. All right, listen up, listeners. We, at some point in time, are going to have that hard look in the mirror and say to ourselves, do the words in the laws, does the law mean what the law says, or does the law mean whatever the person sitting in the big chair wants it to say? Ladies and gentlemen, our founding fathers were as close to human geniuses as we're going to know here probably on planet Earth, second only to Solomon. And they understood that the desire of man in government is to gain power. They've understood that the history of the world, of all world governments, whether they were well-intentioned or not, was once they got power was to get more of it.
Right.
End of story. Now, they
Hence,
also understood they were practical and that we had to have government. Correct? You're with me?
Absolutely, 100%. Keep going.
So they understood that we had to have government. So they said, all right, we have to have government or we have anarchy. So how can we have government, a necessary evil, but at the same time put in place fetters, put in place restrictions, put in place roadblocks to keep these people from getting too much power, to keep them from becoming tyrannical. And they did that, and it was very simple. You know, the United States Constitution has less than, 4,000 words? I believe it has less than 4,000 as originally written. Of course, we got a lot of these really long-winded amendments that came later. Right. Have you ever noticed, Mark, how the original amendments were very short, succinct, and to the point?
Well, there's a reason. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because they were obvious.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need an explanation. The founders knew, Paul, as you know, and listeners, a little brush up here. They debated even putting these rights in the Constitution because they, for example, the right to bear arms. They debated even having to put it in because it was such a no-brainer. It was already pre-existent that they debated whether they even had to codify it. Thank God they did. Thank God they did. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, they debated the Bill of Rights because those who said we didn't need it are like, no, you don't understand. The Constitution, no authority that isn't specifically granted in this paper exists. So if it doesn't say in this paper, you can, ban guns and restrict free speech and all that. And they tried to tell people, look, no, it doesn't say that. And they're like, we don't believe it. Put it in writing. Like, okay, we'll put it in writing. So they did. Everything that we're talking about now, all these problems, all these boogeymen, all these fears that we have, and all these preemptive lawsuits and lobbyists and so forth, how do we get to the point, Mark, where we have to lobby the government to respect the Constitution and acknowledge the existence of it?
Okay.
How did we get to the point where we have to beg our elected representatives to acknowledge the existence of the rules which they are obligated to obey?
Well, there's an answer for that. We happen to be living in the time where, and this was while as brilliant as our founders were, they were still human beings. And it has taken, at least in this form of representative government, in the republic that we call the United States, with the Constitution as it's written, it has taken us 230, 240 plus years to get here, where the individuals who were restricted by the Constitution have been able to amend and cover up, and through many, many years of corruption, working with the mainstream media and taking advantage of technologies as they've increased over the years, provide themselves levels of power that have, in fact, Paul, I would argue, that our founders were unable, in all of their infinite wisdom, they knew, and they did the best that they could with what they had, and the document is brilliant.
30.
But in this particular point in time in our nation's history, the corruption has gotten to a point that, to answer your question, has taken about 234 years to eke out day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, decade by decade, century over century. We have gotten to a point where corruption has tipped the scale. There's been a paradigm shift, and we are living through that time now. The question is, what are we going to do to stop it? Or are we going to let it continue? Paul, we're getting ready to take a break. But a good question. To try to answer how we got here is more time than we have on the program. But when we come back, we're going to continue to explore that with Paul Markel, the professor, student of the gun, studentofthegun.com. Armed American Radio continues right after this. Don't go away. Greg will be right back.
Yeah.
You know when we have 30.
All right.
Ugh.
$30.
Defender Coffee was...
God, I hate this stupid spot. Every time you've got 30.
Defender Coffee got you again, huh?
Because the Defender Coffee rejoin, it just is labeled very similarly. Gonna have to go in and edit that.
That's funny.
Every time.
Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead. Let's move it on.
I'm just going to relabel it so it's more visual because some of these letters are small. And it's not that I'm getting old. It's just in a quick pinch glancing over like, oh, 30.
Right.
Crap. Spot.
American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense in the Gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. continues right now across the country, and we're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now, and also going to have the videos uploaded for you on Rumble. So we're going to have a little bit shortened video today because we were doing some testings in the studio, but nonetheless, you'll get segments 2, 3, and 4. If, in fact, you're watching, or if you're listening and you want to watch it on Rumble, you'll get a little bit shortened show. The opening segment won't be there, but that's okay. No worries. We're there just about every single day. And all of this, of course, is being brought to you by X Insurance, an AM Best A-rated company that has your back when you need it the most. The worst time of your life, when your freedom is on the line, you need real insurance written for you. Let's go back to a student of the gun, Paul Markel. Very compelling conversation, provocative stuff, Paul. The very simple question, how did we get here? I got to tell you, we got here because man found a way. It took us 240 years, but those very people that the founders were protecting us from in the Constitution, in the eloquent description you gave us of power and why they did, in fact, write it the way it was written, we're human, and they're human. And as human beings, the human beings in power and in positions of authority, it took them 240 plus years to be able to usurp the document. And we allowed it to happen by not instituting term limits, for example. When you've got Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer a combined 150 years, that's a problem, okay? But these people have been sucking the power out of this system for years to the point that they have found a way to usurp it. And we find ourselves now, when we're living through this time, Paul, where we have to put our foot down. We have to stop it. And if we choose not to stop it, we're going to have to live with the consequences. Or are we? And that's where we're at today, Paul. So I'm glad you asked that very simple question. The answer is quite complicated. Go ahead.
Well, it's complicated and simple all at the same time. You can boil it down to what happens when you allow a 5-year-old to throw a temper tantrum and you don't correct him immediately. It doesn't get better. It just gets worse. And that's what we've done as a country. We've allowed this chicanery to go on, and it's almost as if I wrote something recently. Can I share it with you?
Please.
And when I hear people say, oh, it's not that, or it's not this, or whatever, we have this tendency as humans, I believe, to assume that, all right, for instance, a great example is Nazi Germany. I think a lot of people, if you say Nazi Germany, first of all, if they're not like Gen Zs or millennials and they actually know what happened, they have this weird image in their minds that Adolf Hitler, stole power. Okay. Right. And he, a lot of people think that Hitler came to power during a military coup and he overthrew the sitting government and put himself in there. Adolf Hitler was elected.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was elected in a general election. And he didn't get elected and the next day walk out and say, round up the Jews and send them to camps.
That's correct.
It didn't take place. It wasn't this one. People act as though, this is the quote that I shared with my fan base. I said, people behave and act as though tyranny and evil arrive as a lone monster, a dragon that is an obvious threat. Tyranny actually begins as a single mouse. Alone, it seems harmless, but then there are 10 and 100, and then you have a diseased infestation of thousands. Before you realize what has happened, evil is everywhere you look. And I'm going to say this, and if my wife gets back to my wife, I'm going to be in trouble, but that's all right, I'm going to say it anyway. My wife, being a woman, will tell me things like, she'll say things like, you got to let that go, or it's not that big of a deal, And what we've done as a nation is we've allowed chicanery to take place one little bit at a time.
Sure.
And we behaved like reasonable women, like our wives. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Just it's not that big of a deal to put your mask on to go into the grocery store. Just do it. I know it's stupid, and I know it doesn't make any sense, and I know it doesn't help, but it's not that big of a deal. Just do it. That's the mouse. And when we're made aware of things, when we're made aware of lies and fraud and so forth, but it's done, and it already happened. So And that's another thing that we do. Well, it already happened. So what good does it do to get mad about it now? Well, because it's going to happen again.
And again,
Because
what
when
you're
you
referring
take-
to. Let me break in quickly because we made up a word a number of years ago on the show, the incrementalization. I'm going to make up a new one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the incrementalizationness. It's the incrementalizationness that we allow to happen. And we've talked about it for years on the broadcast. And listener, you might know it as another famous euphemism. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Okay? Or if you give them an inch, they're going to want more. However you want to phrase it. This is what Paul is saying. We've been letting this happen for so long. And that's what I was trying to articulate when we came back, that over all of these years, it's taken 200 plus years for us to get to the point we're at. Because the human beings that are seeking power, the tyrants, who, because power requires more power, those tyrants have been taking power to a point right now where they believe, Paul, that they can have it all. It happens to be in our lifetimes. And that's why they so hated Donald Trump, because Donald Trump stood in their globalist way. And they did everything in their power. The machinery across the world went nuts over Donald Trump. And that's why it is so vital that Donald Trump remain president. Go ahead. Angry Mark is getting ready to crawl out of the box right now. And I'm not sure I was going to be able to contain myself lawfully FCC-wise. So go ahead, please. Take it away, please. I need a break. Go ahead. Go.
Use the word fornicate. They can't censor that. But yeah, no, we are at that position right now. And a lot of you guys out there are frustrated. You're like, yeah, I hear you, Paul. I hear you, Mark. But my coworkers don't care, and my neighbors don't care, and my okay, great. I get that. Here's the deal. You don't need them. Oh, yeah, I do. No, you don't. We created this country physically with the support and the bloodshed and the sweat and the tears and the labor of 3% of the population. The rest just went along with it. Some actually opposed us. Never forget that in the war, the War of 1776, there was a huge population of Americans that were Biden supporters.
Oh, yeah.
They were Tories.
Look, you go back and look at
everything was good.
Go back and study what happened between John Adams and Jefferson. It was vicious. It was vicious. This country has seen political battles. But here's where I would say we're different, though, Paul, because we have a technology today that exacerbates the situation. We have a technology today that self-manipulates itself. That's a simple way of saying a bad thing. We have a technology today that enables hatred. And it does it in instantaneous time, and it does it 24/7. That's incredibly dangerous. And we're at a point now in our history where, because that cat's out, we can't get it back. That smoke is out of the grill. So what do? We've got to, at some point in time, we're going to have to address this issue. What do we do about it?
I'll tell you, the greater the threat and the greater the danger, the greater the fight that must be in you. The greater the strength that is going to be required of you. The greater the effort and the greater the sacrifice that is going to be required of you. You say, well, Paul, I don't want to sacrifice and I don't want to be
30.
Then depart from us with our goodwill and bend down and embrace the chains of your master.
And give me money to fight the fight
for
you. Okay?
The summertime soldiers, the sunshine patriots and summertime soldiers we don't need, and they do us no good.
When we come back from this break, great stuff, Paul, by the way, thank you. When we come back from this break, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into what Cam had to say about, and we're hear from Larry Keane on this as well. We're going to read that. Of course, he's the National Shooting Sports Foundation. He's with the NSSF. We're going to hear what he has to say about Biden's plans, and then I'm going to ask you a question to close out the show. You can probably already imagine what it is, but we're getting closer and closer every single day. Back with Paul right after this.
Three down.
Ridiculous. Let's watch a really cool graphic. How about that, huh? That's pretty cool, isn't it? Those of you watching the stream. Yeah, man. We're going to run those in front of the videos and on Rumble and wherever else the videos go up. And most of those will, one at a time individually. You'll see a few more of those too. But you'll have some pretty cool stuff coming up. No doubt you premium subscribers, I'm going to put all that stuff up there for you. You'll get it before everybody else does. Not technically today because of this live stream, but nonetheless. These are some of the cool graphics that will be going up in front of all the video work that we're doing in the future. So enjoy. We've got time to run one another. I like the dragon, too. Isn't the dragon cool? Let's run the dragon, shall we? That's pretty cool, huh? We'll be right back, guys. Yeah, Paul, that ain't Puff, dude. Go ahead and name him. I'll leave it to you. Paul gets to name the dragon. Are we on time?
We're back.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back indeed. I am drinking Defender Coffee if you're watching me on the YouTube feed. Defender Coffee mug is up here, but I'm going to tell you right now, I said I'm drinking Defender Coffee. That's not true. That's a mistake. I'm drinking Maxwell House something or other because I'm out of Defender. And my shipment won't arrive until tomorrow, but I know it's coming tomorrow. I was notified that it's going to be here. I checked the tracking, and it'll be here tomorrow. So that means I'm going to have to re-up and add another bag because we're killing too much of it. But I am drinking it in the Defender Coffee mug. I did have to tell you that, though. And let me take this opportunity to remind you to visit all of our sponsors, please. As I said, if you are, of course, you're in the gunbroker.com studios. Gunbroker.com is just killing it this year. You probably already know that, but if you can't find it out there on the store shelves, and you can't, it's really simple. Go to gunbroker.com. It's there. You might have to play along, but you got buy now buttons on there too. If you can't find it, you can find it at Gunbroker. And I'm telling you, don't wait. Don't hesitate. If you see it, buy it. Forget the price because it isn't going to get any cheaper, and it isn't going to be there tomorrow. So don't be acting all a fool thinking you're going to say, Go ahead and get it now, because what I'm getting ready to tell you when we come back after I tell you about this stuff, you're going to understand exactly why. In fact, you're probably going to want to go to Gunbroker as soon as you get off the air with me today. There's no question about it. Gunbroker.com. And, of course, this is the Car Arms Platinum microphone. Big changes coming to the show coming up in January. You're going to love it. Leadslinger's Whiskey, by the way, leadslingerswhiskey.com, MyPillow. If you're not supporting Mike Lindell for supporting this program as the cancel culture is trying to crush him, please. That's how we get along. We help each other out. Mike is helping us out specifically on this program, helping us stay on the air, and we do the same thing with him. We support. It's real simple. You sleep and you defend the Second Amendment. You don't even know it. The promo code is AAR, Radio Listener Special Tab, when you go to MyPillow.com. Please, please, please send them out as gifts. Buy them like crazy. He's got $40 off. The Queen Pillow is only $29.99, and I think the warranty now is extended through March of 2021, and that's $40 off. The Kings are only $5 more, and all the products there, when you use the promo code AAR, you get the huge discounts, okay? Second Amendment Foundation, Alan doing God's work at SAF. Please visit us at saf.org. Let's not forget North American Arms and Sadie Sweat and all the great stuff that they're doing over there. And let's now go back to Paul. And Paul, all of this is being brought to us today by X Insurance, a far superior company than anything that's out there. If you carry a gun, you need X Insurance. I can promise you that. I've got a great plan with them. All right, Paul, let me go back to did you want to, real quick, throw an exclamation point on anything from the previous segment?
Oh, I was just going to say all my thoughts and editorials are brought to you by the Pimp Hand of the USA.
There you go. There you go.
in Panda America.
There you go. Paul Markle, the professor, student of the gun. Right now, there's no legal way. Let me start back up here. The Gun Control Act of 68, because we're talking about the Gottlieb. Gottlieb was talking with Cam earlier yesterday on the show, and he was talking about Biden, with a stroke of a pen, banning the importation of semi-automatic rifles. That means your semi-automatic rifles, the importation of them. He said that's one of the first moves that Biden could make. But Gottlieb said he's also concerned that Biden could try to ban the importation of ammo and ammo components as well, Paul. The Gun Control Act of 68 prohibits the importation of ammunition unless it's of a type generally recognized as particularly suitable for or readily adaptable to sporting purposes. And we all know the ATF has already tried that game. We're going right back to the Obama days when they're trying to mess around with you. That's exactly what happened, Paul. I hear you. Biden could not only use executive actions to block so-called assault weapons from being imported, but could ban the importation of common calibers of centerfire rifle ammunition as well, making it even harder for gun owners to acquire already scarce ammo. What about domestically manufactured modern sporting rifles, your ARs? Is there any way for Biden to ban guns like the AR without legislation? According to NSSF's Larry Keene, his transition team is already weighing their options. Right now, there's no legal way that I'm aware of where you could deny the right if they had legally purchased them. He told CNN of their confiscation plans, but we can, in fact, make a major effort to get them off the street and out of the possession of people. This is Biden's team talking to CNN. Today, he's looking for the loopholes. One way Biden's trying to achieve his agenda is by reclassifying the modern sporting rifle to fall under the 1934 National Firearms Act, so the more than a century-old technology would be treated in the same fashion as short-barrel rifles and machine guns. That would require owners to be put on federal lists, submit fingerprints, photos, inform chief law enforcement officers, endure duplicitous background checks, wait more than 9 months for approval, and pay a $200 tax for the privilege to continue to own what they already own, and, of course, continue to try to cut out the ammunition. And, of course, if Biden wants to do that, Cam reminds us that there are tens of millions of Americans who aren't going to voluntarily give up the guns in their possession or pay the federal government hundreds of dollars per gun or magazine for the privilege of keeping what they already own. Paul, that begs the following question. And this is what I was going to ask my listeners, and I'll ask you. What are you going to do about it? Because I'm not giving them anything. I'm not paying a tax for what I own. I'm not registering anything I own. And I have I'm pretty vocal about what I talk about. I'm not hard to find. Okay? I'm out here every day doing this. I'm not giving them anything. If you want it, you come and take it. And if you want me, you come and get me. And if you want me to pay something, you come and take it from me. Because I'm not giving you anything. And the question I'm asking you, listener, is what are you going to do about it when they come for you? Because, yes, they do want your guns. Paul, take it away. Please remember we have an FCC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got you. Well, one of the first thing that everyone in the audience needs to wake up and understand is that the entrenched ruling class in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of members, there's the mainstream news media and now big tech and so forth, but the entrenched ruling class just conspired to remove your last means of peaceful protest, the vote. They just conspired. They spent an entire year, probably more, but let's just say the year, whatever.
4.
Conspiring, or 4 or whatever, but the culmination of their efforts just transpired on November 3rd. They have no problem eliminating your last means of peaceful protest, the vote. So, understanding that as a reality, and see that's the thing, we've got to be able to face reality. We can't stick our heads in the sand. We can't hide. We can't play the reasonable man and say, oh, man, I know this stinks, but, boy, we're going to get them during the midterms. No, you're not. Because if they get away with what they just did, if we allow them to get away with that, there's not going to be a midterm sweep. There's not going to be, in 4 more years, we'll put in our guy. If you eliminate, if you've stolen from the people the last and greatest means of peaceful, organized protest, which is what the vote is. The vote is the opportunity for the contributing citizen to decide who stays and who goes, right? Minus resorting to the sword. because, and that's where we're at. A lot of people say, well, we can vote this and we can vote that. Here's the deal. We did not vote the British out of America.
No, we did not. And you know what?
No, we did not.
And it's looking more and more like, when you use common sense and just intuitiveness, it's looking more and more like we didn't vote Trump out either, when you add up all of the numbers in the equation.
There's no possible way.
There's no possible way he brought more blacks, Hispanics, 10 to 11 more million more voters, that the Republicans picked up seats in the House and added to their gains in the state legislatures, and then lost the election. Doesn't make sense. You know it, I know it, they know it. They think you're stupid. The fight goes on. Paul Markel, student of the gun. I may bring you back another day this week. Is that okay?
It's not going to be Friday because I'm going to be busier than a one-legged buck.
Don't worry about it. Maybe we can do it tomorrow, too. Okay, Paul, I'm going to get ready to get cut off here. Student of the gun. Make sure you go there and check him out. That's Paul Markel. Until we meet tomorrow, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would do it. See you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Fun stuff. Greg, are you done with me, bud?
Yeah, man. Do your thing.
Okay. Enjoyed it today. Good program. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it if you could wind the hands of the clock back a little bit every day.
It'd be nice, but I got no control over that.
I know, dude. All right, man. Oh, by the way, I did have another Wagyu burger for lunch today.
I'm sure you did. You got to eat it all up at some point, right?
You
Just
got to
a
put it on the
forced
grill and you got to
torture,
eat it
huh?
all up, man. You know, man.
Yeah, forced torture. It's like, you can't let that sit in the whiskey cabinet for a while. You got to get that on through.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that stuff is so good. Oh, my gosh. Okay, no time to talk about that now. Enjoy the rest of your day, brother. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow.
See you, man.
We've just disconnected Greg. How about that, huh? Okay, YouTube. So the connections were good today, huh? I see some comments in there. Yeah, the quality of the audio here. But, look, it's all communist run, all of it. And at some point in time, we're going to find a way to stop feeding them. I'm going to make a prediction here regarding Facebook. Facebook is under tremendous pressure now with a federal antitrust suit. And I think you're going to see just about every state involved in that as well. I think you might see Facebook start playing nicer in the sandbox, lest they get broken up. I don't care what you're seeing with a Biden administration; it doesn't make any difference. But they're in trouble at Big Tech now. Big Tech is doing everything they can right now to silence everybody. Do you think they're going to want to keep this program on the air? Of course not. They hate shows like this. It's remarkable that they haven't already started coming after us, but. Trust me, in due time, it's expected. They won't be successful, though. That much I can promise you, but they're going to try, and it won't matter. All right, guys. Appreciate the crap out of it today. I got a lot of work to do. Still got tons and tons of stuff. If you're a premium subscriber, I put up a new post a couple days ago. Make sure you go in and listen to that, and I'll get these videos up for you as well, and there are more of them on the way. So enjoy them. You'll begin to see them now. At the beginning, middle, end of the podcast or of the live shows, as we begin to do more and more video. Okay, all right, guys. Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it very much, and we'll see you on the radio tomorrow.